Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Wednesday on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream, which you can catch on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and of course, on our Facebook page, WIBW News. We have got a jam-packed show for you today, but we begin with this breaking news from Evansville, Indiana.
And the clock is going to wind down. Lenoir-Rhyne calls off the Dogs. And for the first time in nearly 2.5 decades, the Washburn Ichabods are headed to the Final Four. Washburn wins! Washburn wins! 90-78, taking down Lenoir-Rhyne. And the Ichabods have a date with the number 1 seed Nova Southeastern on Thursday night in the national semifinals.
That's how it sounded on our sister station, Country 106.9 last night, as the Washburn Ichabods punched their ticket to the Final Four for the third time in program history, and the first time since 2001. Has Brendan Dworzinski's voice recovered since then? Let's go to Evansville and find out as we welcome in Brendan. For those of you who are listening on the radio, for those of you who are watching on our YouTube, our video stream, Brendan's been here the whole time watching that and listening to that. But we bring him in on air now. Brendan, how you feeling, man? How was that last night?
It was a blast, man. It was a whole lot of fun. Great contingent of Washburn fans who made the trip from Northeast Kansas or wherever they might be residing these days. And I know that there will be more for the Final Four coming up on Thursday, but they brought some great energy. Washburn led the entire game. 14 seconds in, Washburn scored its first points, never trailed after that. Game was never tied. I give Lenoir-Rhyne a lot of credit because, man, they battled. They've got some dudes who can really score on that team. They don't defend a whole lot, and that's why Washburn was able to get to 90 points and probably left some money on the table as well in that regard. But overall, really good, strong effort by Washburn. Talked to Coach Ballard after the game, and we'll get to this more here in a moment, but said, we going into the Final Four, going into, whatever lies ahead the rest of this week, probably needed a game where we really needed to close strong because we just haven't had many games like that over the course of the season. So good, gritty effort by Washburn. Some really, really impressive efforts on an individual level. I know we'll get to those here in just a second. Christopher mentions it already in the YouTube comments that the seeding for this tournament has been utterly preposterous. We'll get to that here all coming up in this first segment. But what a fun night. And now there were 200, and I don't know how many exactly because there are some teams that the scheduling is weird. They don't qualify because they don't play enough games. But officially 290 qualified teams in Division II men's basketball this year. 4 are left, and one of them is Washburn. Really, really hard to be anything but just utterly thrilled and jubilant about what this team has been. And they can beat Nova, man. I'm telling you, I was just texting with Jake Laban last night. They can beat Nova, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But, man, what a fun night. What a blast of a time. Evansville put on a great show. It was just an awesome day of basketball overall. I know we were talking about some of the scores when I jumped on with you, Dan, at bottom of the 3 o'clock hour yesterday. Just a really fun day of basketball, and glad that Washburn was able to end it not as one of the few teams that got upset yesterday.
So we will talk plenty about your Washburn Ichabods. They are into the Final Four, beating Lenoir-Rhyne last night in Evansville, and you heard Brendan make mention of it. Nova Southeastern awaits on Thursday night. Going to be another barn burner at the Ford Center. That's Brendan. He's with us in Evansville today. He'll be with us in and out throughout the show today. Spencer Dupuis will be with us a little bit later on as well. I am Dan Lucero. This is the 580 Sports Talk crew. And as I mentioned, we are jam-packed today. This is our final show before the Royals play a meaningful baseball game. We are off tomorrow for opening day from the K. The Royals and the Guardians at 3:05. The first pitch of the season will be thrown by Cole Reagans. It should be a beautiful day in the city of Fountains. 2:30 pregame on the Royals radio network here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. That means we're out tomorrow. It'll be baseball on the radio from 3 until 6. So with that in mind, we got to do our season preview today. And that's what we're going to give you. Our prediction for the Royals in 2025. Where will they finish? How will they finish? Who will be the most important players? Who will break out? Who will disappoint? We'll cover it pillar to post on our Royals preview edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll also have Major League Baseball predictions for you and predict out how the 2025 season is going to look. So, lots of baseball on the program today. We're going to talk K-State with Tim Fitzgerald, bottom of the 4 o'clock hours. We always do on Wednesdays, the Wildcat Wrap-up with our guy Fitz from GoPowerCat.com. We'll talk all things Wildcats, including the K-State women moving on to the Sweet 16, playing on Saturday night in Spokane against USC. We'll get there with Fitz. We'll talk some football in the 5 o'clock hour. Ben Solak of ESPN ranked the offseason hauls for all 32 teams. And Chiefs usually find themselves in lists of NFL teams near the top. They are not near the top of this list. A lot of their Chief rivals are, no pun intended, in the AFC, but the Chiefs offseason haul, Ben Solak not super impressed. And we'll talk about how he evaluates it and the rest of the NFL's offseason hauls to date. Obviously, the offseason is not done. There's still the draft and all of that, but free agency trades that have already happened. An interesting look at how the Chiefs kind of compare to the rest of their peers. So we'll get to some football today as well. We'll play One Gotta Go. We got What Is Wrong With You. We're going to crown a weekly champion today so we can do our March semifinals on Friday. So we'll crown a short week champ on What Is Wrong With You in the 4 o'clock hour. Lots of headlines to get to in the 5 o'clock hour. A couple of NFL transactions from last night. A college basketball coaching carousel that continues to spin and so much more. Plus your interaction with the program today. We would love to hear from you. If you are watching the show live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk right now, jump in the chat. There's a live chat feature if you're viewing it on the web browser or in the mobile app, and you can chat with us and your fellow listeners throughout the show. Hello to Mark, Triple G, Christopher in on the chat so far today, and we look forward to hearing from them and from more of you as we go along. You can also text the program. That works just as well. Shoot us a text, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. But we began with those bods. Washburn 90, Lenoir-Rhyne 78. Washburn never trailed in the game. The ESPN Plus announce crew thought Washburn had it in the bag with about 15 minutes to go, even to the point where coming out of the under 4 timeout, Lenoir-Rhyne made a 3 to cut it to 7. And the play-by-play announcer, who actually, I know Brendan Gulick a little bit. He's doing the play-by-play for ESPN Plus, and I've met him before.
Great dude.
Yeah, he and I have
really nice guy.
Yeah, he and I have a mutual acquaintance. I like Brendan a lot. That Brendan, I like the Brendan we have on our show too. But I like that. I like that Brendan as well. Lots of Brendans. That's a lot of Brendans on the press row. Anyway,
2 guys from very Irish Catholic areas, Cleveland and Chicago.
So,
although I'm not even Catholic, so I don't know where it comes from for me.
So, Brendan Gulick didn't even break stride talking about how Washburn was in a good position and in control of the game, even as Lenoir-Rhyne was cutting it to 7 with 3.5 minutes left. That was a coolness. I don't know that I felt watching it on the couch. Maybe that's just me being neurotic when it comes to games where there's a result I really care about. But Brendan, you were there and you were courtside for all 40 minutes. Did it always feel as though Washburn had a firm grip on that basketball game? Because the final score certainly suggests that they did.
Yeah, I would say, and I was thinking about this last night. I could not sleep, man. I put it out on social media right around 2:30. Like, man, I'm wide awake. I'm not going to bed anytime soon. Plus, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was on cable last night, so I had to stay up and watch it. Anyway, I was thinking about that throughout. The final score, you win by 12. That's probably in the end about an accurate representation of how much Washburn should have won by. The Ichabod offense was great. Defense was fine, and I think Brett Ballard would tell you the same thing. It was good enough. It was fine enough. And I give Lenoir-Rhyne credit. Like I said at the top, they were battling throughout. They had a couple of guys who could really fill it up, who were getting downhill. We talked about their big man, Conrad Luczynski, before this game started yesterday when I was jumping on the show with you. He was a complete non-factor. He didn't even start the second half. He played all of 2 minutes coming out of halftime. So Washburn neutralized him. They did a great job in the post defensively. Lenoir-Rhyne shot 60% from 3 in the first half. That's really what kept him in it. They battled late as well. So Washburn probably wasn't 21 points better than the Bears were yesterday, which was the biggest lead of the day. They also were better than 7 points better than the Bears were, which was as close as it got with just under 4 minutes to go. Free throw shooting was pretty good down the stretch. Jack Batchelor had a great control of the game in terms of the assists, had a few more turnovers than we're used to with him, but still had 9 assists in the game. He's got 19 in the last 2 games, a regional final and then a national quarterfinal. It's just ridiculous for just a sophomore. So no, I think 12 points better is about what you would say for Washburn. Was it a perfect game? No, but there was never a moment, even when Lenoir-Rhyne hit a 3 at the, I believe it was 3:43 mark of the second half to cut it down to a 7-point game. Even then, I never thought, oh man, this one's slipping away. It was just, okay, settle things down. Don't turn the ball over. There was a little bit of a flurry of turnovers there for Washburn. Just hold on to the ball, make your free throws. You're going to put this game to bed. So I wouldn't even go as far as to say a comfortable win, but a steady win. They kept Lenoir-Rhyne at arm's length the entire way, which, frankly, when you're talking about the Elite Eight, national quarterfinals, into national semifinals, you really can't ask for much more. That's about as comfortable as you're going to get, especially when you consider some of the other games that took place on Tuesday.
I thought a big part of the story of this game was Washburn's depth. 6 different double-figure scorers for the Ichabods in their 90-point effort. And when I got the game on, we had a little bit of difficulty with bedtime last night for Ash. We eventually got him down. By the time we got him down and I got the game on TV, saw Cade Cook on the floor. And I mean, Cade Cook is not a guy who's played a bunch of first half minutes this season, frankly, for Washburn. He's a true freshman. He's 6'8", going to be a good player, but he's not been a guy that's had to play a whole lot. And I saw Cade Cook out there and Andrew Orr not out there. And I thought to myself, foul trouble. That's not ideal. That's not what you want for Washburn to have to deal with in an Elite Eight game. But Cade Cook played really well, and Dylan Clausen played really, really well. That's a young man that Brett Ballard's been high on since this season started. I remember talking to him about Dylan all the way back in November, December, and him saying Dylan's going to be really, really good. Dylan is really good. And he was excellent last night. 17 points, tied a season and career high for him. He had the back-to-back buckets after Lenoir-Rhyne had closed within 7 that pushed the lead back to 11 and kind of let you exhale a little bit if you were getting tight there on the Washburn side. Again, a lot of teams are about their star, about their main guy. And Washburn, their strength is they don't really have a main guy. They've got a lot of guys who are good at a lot of different things. And when you can get double-figure contributions from 6 different guys in a national quarterfinal, that goes a long way.
Yeah, I talked to Jacob Hanna about this after the game, who, if you were going to point to anyone on this team as like the guy, you'd probably point to Jacob, although you could very well point to Andrew Orr as well, who's been so good throughout his career. And I asked him about that and said, hey, look, this was a game where you ended up scoring in double figures, had a good rebounding day, good assist day, but only went 3 of 11 from the floor. Ayo was awesome when he was on the floor. Unfortunately, he was only able to play for about 12 minutes because he was in foul trouble pretty much from the very jump. You know, what did you think of these guys stepping up and filling in? And he said that's just what we do, man, that we have so many guys who can be weapons. And like, look, Braden Shorter shooting threes. Yeah, that's what he does. He does it better than literally anybody in the country. More three-pointers made than anyone in Division II this year. Jack Batchelor's going to move the ball, and he's going to score it and shoot threes when needed. Andrew Orr is going to do his thing. But when you can bring a freshman, 6'8", 215, like Dylan Clausen off the bench, and he can go a casual 7 out of 7 from the floor, 3 for 4 at the free throw line. Again, not easy when you're 6'8", and can just dominate and be the best post in the game as a freshman at 6'8". I mean, the ceiling is, or the sky is the limit. There is no ceiling for this group. Dylan's so good, man. I know you got to see him when you were traveling with the team back in December and getting to talk to Coach during that time of the year and still kind of figuring out what the strengths are going to be for this program. We knew what they wanted to run, but how are the rotations going to work as you're just starting MIAA play? And I asked Coach about this at a coach's show earlier this year and said, you know, relative to Andrew Orr, who's one of the best bigs this program has ever seen, where is Dylan Clausen as a freshman compared to where Andrew was? And Coach told me he's way ahead. Like Andrew, we didn't need to play him a whole lot early on in his career because we had the Johnny Clausens of the world and some of these other players who were so good and who played a ton of minutes. Well, Dylan's had to play a bunch this year, either because of foul trouble or just being the second reserve big man, or the first reserve, second overall big man of the rotation. And he's been great. He's answered the bell. He hasn't run into a freshman wall at this point, and Washburn really needed that yesterday. He arguably was the best player in the game, coming off the bench for 22 minutes, going up against a 7-footer in the middle. So I was so impressed by what Dylan was able to do, because that is not an easy call, man. And we've seen it at every level of basketball. You can see it at the high school ranks. You can see it Division I. Guys who are young, who maybe don't play a ton or who play reserve minutes, they get called in at a big spot. Sometimes they wilt, and Dylan was the best player on the floor yesterday. He was tremendous.
Washburn wins, and their reward is they play the team that I think most people, neutral observers, would tell you is the favorite to win the tournament, the number 1 seed Sharks from Nova Southeastern, who handled Assumption. I know that game ended up being only an 11-point deficit, but Nova Southeastern led by like 20 at halftime. It was a blowout. Final score kind of flattered the 8th seed. This is, I'll just say it, it's the national championship game, and the NCAA can only blame itself for their screwed up seeding that made it so that the national championship game is on a Thursday night in the national semifinals. The 2 best teams are playing each other on Thursday night in the semis instead of in the championship game, and that's on you, NCAA. That's on you, seeding committee, because you got it wrong. You got it completely back-asswards wrong when it comes to the seeding in this tournament. That being said, and I'm sure this will be the attitude of the Washburn players and coaching staff, if you're going to win the title, you're going to have to beat the best. I believe it was Ric Flair who once said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And that is where Washburn, I thought you were going to really give me the woo, Brendan. I laid out for it.
I didn't want to. Yeah, I know. I did the motion and everything. I didn't want to completely bury you right
No,
there.
No, I understand. So, Washburn's not going to back down from this challenge, and since we don't have a show tomorrow on which we could get a preview of this one, give me your preliminary day-before thoughts on how Washburn matches up with the up-tempo, 40 minutes of hell, full-court press Sharks of Nova Southeastern.
So I think the reason Nova only ended up winning by 9 in their game more than anything, and credit to Assumption, because, man, they were far less athletic and relative in size tiny compared to Nova Southeastern, and yet they were respectable at the end, and I give them a lot of credit. That's a team from a not very good conference up in the NE10, and they battled with the top team in the country. And look, Nova deserves all the hype and adulation that they get for what they've done this year and what they're able to do. They score in bunches, and they had 4 dudes score 20-plus points yesterday. This isn't the NBA, man. They score 100 every game, number 1 in the country, I believe, in overall scoring this year. Yeah, 102.7 a game. And all their dudes can fill it up. They play that full court pressing style. It's so strange. There are 3 different teams, there were 3 different teams in the Elite 8 that ran some version of this full court nonstop press off of makes, off of misses, off of side outs, off of baseline, inbound, everything. And look, man, it works for them. And I give them credit for figuring it out. Now, they don't play teams that defend like Washburn defends. That's the number one thing that stands out to me here. Nova gives up points. I mean, they give up a ton. I believe in the Massey ratings, for those of you into the advanced metrics, I believe there's something like 166th in the country, at least at last check, in terms of defensive efficiency this year. Washburn should be able to score. I mean, Assumption put up 93 points on them, and that was the weakest team in the field by far. So Washburn should be able to score. To me, it comes down to 2 things. We talked about this a lot going into the Lenoir-Rhyne game. It's being safe with the ball, because that's how Nova gets so many extra possessions, is they steal the ball from you in the backcourt, or they don't let you get over center court and they get the ball on dead ball turnovers that way. And you got to defend. MJ Araldi is an unbelievable player. You might remember the name Dallas Graziani, Dan, from a certain NCAA tournament game last year when Samford almost beat KU. He started his career at Nova, transferred to Samford last year, played for Coach Bucky in the tournament against KU, then transferred back to Nova this year. He's 5'9". He has a shaved head. Insane aesthetic for a college basketball player, to be completely honest with you. But it works. I mean, it works out. So the ability to defend those guys is going to be huge for Washburn. Jacob Hanna, Michael Keegan have to be great. AO's got to stay out of foul trouble. That's going to be huge if he does. I love the matchup with him inside. They give up a lot of layups, but you got to stay on the court to make that matter. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup. It's a fun clash of styles. If I may, because I know we've got to get to a break. We have a ton of Royal stuff to get to. If I may kvetch for one moment here. Two things that are absolutely asinine, to say the least. One, the seating for this Elite Eight is preposterous. It doesn't make any sense. I was joking with you and I think our buddy Trenton Craxner as well. Apparently all the seating committee cares about is points per game, but even that doesn't make sense because Washburn averaged more points per game than Dallas Baptist, which got the 3rd seed. Washburn played in a tougher conference and in a tougher region than Dallas Baptist. Washburn finished with a better record than Dallas Baptist. All of these different things, and yet ended up with a lower seed than DBU got. That made absolutely no sense. You can't even point to, well, margin of victory in their regional tournament. Washburn won by more points per game in their 3 games of their regional tournament. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason to it whatsoever. So that's already ridiculous. Secondly, the NABC released their list of Division II All-Americans yesterday. Nobody from Washburn, a team that was number 1 in the country for half a dozen weeks or more, did not have a single All-American. You're telling me that there were 16 or 18 players in the country better than Jacob Hanna this year? I'm just going to tell you right now, you're wrong. That's not true. You can make an argument for multiple Washburn players, but certainly for number 5. I don't know why you'd give this team bulletin board material right now, but I'm going to complain because they deserve the adulation, but I'm not going to complain about a little extra motivation heading into the Final Four.
Yeah, that was nonsense to me, too. I saw that list. There's a whole bunch of guys who's I'm sure they put up some nice numbers, but their teams weren't in Evansville yesterday.
Nope.
So, yeah, make of that what you will. And again, it speaks to what we talked about and what helped them see them through Lenoir-Rhyne last night, the outstanding depth of this Washburn team. They are in to the Division II Final Four. They will play Nova Southeastern tomorrow night, 8:30 tip-off again. So another late night. Be prepared for it. 8:15 pregame with Brendan over on our sister station, Country 106.9. And again, the tip-off at 8:30. We do have lots of Royals to get to on today's show. It's our Royals and Major League Baseball preview show. We're going to predict the Royals for 2025 when we come back. Stay with us. We're just getting started here on 580 Sports Talk. It's 3:31 on 580 Sports Talk. The gang's all here. Dan, Brendan, Spencer. Brendan here via the wonder of technology, hanging out with us in Evansville, Indiana today. Gets to spend another day or two in southern Indiana as the Washburn Ichabods advance to the Division II Final Four. They get Nova Southeastern on Thursday night, 8:30 tip-off. Again, you can watch on ESPN+. You can listen on Country 106.9, your exclusive home for the Ichabods with Brendan on the call. How many people that watched the game texted you and told you they could see you down bottom left of the screen, Brendan, last night?
I had a number of those, not as many as who texted me saying, why can't I watch the game? Why is it being blacked out?
Yeah, that was odd. That was an odd start. Hopefully that drove some more people to your radio broadcast.
Hopefully. Yeah, no kidding. But it was fun. And, there were some folks, Kalen Fulton, who covers sports, mostly high school, but some Pitt State stuff down in Southeast Kansas as well. I know he put out something on Twitter that said, I hope if you're bored, you go and watch this Washburn Ichabods game because they play the most aesthetically pleasing basketball I've ever seen. And, yeah, like if you're looking for something to do, if you're not intrigued by the Sweet 16 matchups on Thursday, which, again, kind of a bummer that that's opening day for baseball and the start of the Sweet 16 and Washburn plays in the Final Four. But if you're looking for the most aesthetically pleasing basketball you're going to see all day, watch Washburn. It'll be on ESPN Plus and listen to me calling the game as well because that's going to be a lot of fun against Nova Southeastern.
You should definitely do all of those things. Speaking of opening day, that's tomorrow. The Kansas City Royals play meaningful baseball, what should be a pleasant day at Kauffman Stadium. The Royals and the Cleveland Guardians open up the 2025 Major League Baseball season. Cole Reagans and Tanner Bybee. It's an outstanding pitching matchup. And we've been looking forward to this one for a long time because the expectations have been raised by a Royals team who last year made the playoffs for the first time in 9 seasons, winning 86 games and taking an American League wild card spot. I have said on this show, I wish my endorsement of the 2025 Royals could be more full-throated. And I think it would be if they had done more to address the team's weaknesses in the offseason. But it is a long season. There will be an opportunity if the Royals find themselves short a bat or two or a bullpen arm along the way that they can go and make some moves and be aggressive at the trade deadline like they were last year trying to fill the holes that opened up. There's one thing I know about this Royals team. They are going to be aggressive in trying to improve their club. I don't know if I can say that about Minnesota. I don't know if I can say that about Cleveland. Detroit tore it down last year at the trade deadline, just caught a heater in the final 2 months, and that's why they ended up making the playoffs and the American League Division Series. So going into 2025, I am going to say it again, with less conviction than I want to say it, less certainty. This is not a blood bank, bet your firstborn on it lock, but I will put my name on it all the same. I believe the Kansas City Royals are going to win the American League Central. I don't know that they're going to have a dramatically better record than last year. In fact, it would not shock me if the record were a game or two worse, 85 wins, 84 wins. That wouldn't surprise me if there's a step back record-wise for this team, if there's worse health to the starting pitching, if Bobby Witt Jr. is only a 7-win player instead of a 10-win player and nobody goes with him and improves with him. But I think that the pitching depth, the star level play that they're going to get from Bobby Witt Jr., the production at the top of the order I expect they will get with the addition of Jonathan India, and the fact that I think that at some point, whether it's MJ Melendez taking the leap or whether it's Michael Massey taking the leap or whether it's a trade deadline acquisition, there's going to be enough lineup depth to float the top 4 guys in the batting order. And the fact that nobody else in the Central got better and the best team last year got worse. It is with all of those things in mind that I put my name on it here today as I stand, as I sit, I guess. The Kansas City Royals are going to win the American League Central. That is my prediction for 2025. And I want to hear now from you, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Brendan. Where do the Royals finish? Give me the win total. Give me their divisional finish.
I am going with a division championship as well. And I think this really does have more. I think the Royals will probably be about as good as they were last year. I think there will be some more production around Bobby Witt Jr. I also expect Bobby Witt Jr. will not be a not nearly 9.5 win player. Like if Bobby Witt was an 8-win player, that would still be an MVP caliber season. He probably almost certainly would win MVP, and he'd still be a 1.5 worse than he was a season ago. Like, I don't know that we even have had enough time yet to sort of grasp just how good he was a season ago. So I think the rest of the team around him offensively will be a little bit better. He'll probably tail off a little bit, but still be in that elite category. And I think you're probably looking at a team that's about as good as they were a year ago, but the division around them stinks, guys. Like it's not good. I don't think it's completely out of the question that the Tigers are the second best team in the division this year. And I'm not all that bullish on the Detroit Tigers. Last year against the division, the Royals went 12-1 against the White Sox, and I would assume they'll probably be almost as good as that again this year. 7-6 against Detroit. They went 8-5 against Cleveland and went 6-7 against Minnesota. So a couple of teams right around 500, a little bit better than average against Cleveland, and absolutely dominated the White Sox. I don't see why they can't be a couple of games better in the division this year. And you just factor that in. I think they have a chance to win a couple more games. So I've got the market 89-63 division champions this year for the Royals. 73. Yes, yeah. Sorry. Got the math wrong there. 73. Yes, 89-73. Still, I think will be good enough to win this division.
89 wins in a division title for Brendan. 85 wins in a division title is my prediction. Spencer Dupuis, where are the Royals going to finish and how many games are they going to win to do it?
Well, if we remember last year when we did this, exact same thing. I led the pack in win prediction. Right?
Do you want to pat on the back?
No, I just want to say that this time I'm projecting them with a record of 90-72 to win the Central.
He's going the high man again.
That's what I was referencing.
Okay, all right. He's the high man again. 90 wins. You think they can get to 90?
I think they ellipse 90 on the last day of the season.
How about that? So the Royals, American League Central champs, all of us predicting a Royals division championship. Who will be this team's most valuable pitcher? I think there's maybe an obvious answer to this, but I'll let you two go first. We'll go in reverse order. Spencer, who's your most valuable Royals pitcher this year?
Cole Reagan. I think he finishes second in the Cy Young.
Just like his teammate Seth Lugo did last year. Brendan, who will be the most valuable Royals pitcher?
Yep, same thought, same rationale as Spencer. I think Cole Reagan is going to get legitimate Cy Young votes. Now, he's got to stay healthy. I hate to bring this up because it's not the kind of thing you can predict. I am worried about that because he and the Royal staff were so healthy last year. I have a little bit of trepidation, but assuming he stays out there, I have no reason to believe he'll get hurt except for just sort of, probability's sake. But I think Cole Reagan is going to get Cy Young votes this year. I think he's going to be the best and therefore most valuable pitcher for this team.
The reason that I also take Reagan's here is I think that he is able to pitch well without flooring the gas pedal, so to speak, without redlining the RPMs. I've seen him get guys out consistently and work deep into games when the fastball sits at 94, 95. I've seen him reach back and get 97, 98, 99 when he needs it. I've seen him pitch off his changeup more so than he depends on spin. I think that the way Reagan's pitches lends itself to durability in a way that's the way some other guys in the league pitch maybe doesn't lend itself to as much durability. And I know it's always a sucker's bet to say that a pitcher's going to be healthy and make 30 starts and pitch 170, 180 innings, which you have to do really to be a Cy Young contender. When I was going through and making my predictions for the entire season, I kept bumping into that. Like, well, I don't know, their pitching staff, what if they get hurt? Then you just got to remember, man, like injuries happen, but you can't predict injuries. Sometimes, like last year with the Royals, sometimes guys just take the ball and keep taking the ball and keep finding ways to succeed. And I think Reagan's is certainly as a two-time Tommy John survivor, somebody who understands how to manage his workload, how to manage a game a little bit as a pitcher. And he's not just a flamethrower, rip the spin, pedal to the metal kind of guy. I think that helps him. I think that makes him a more effective pitcher and gives him a chance to be a real workhorse at the top of the Royals rotation. So yeah, he's my guy, and I echo your thoughts, guys, that I think he's going to be in the mix for the Cy Young Award by the end of the year. How about the most valuable hitter, not named Bobby Witt Jr., because that's a bit of a cheat? Who do you think will be the second most valuable offensive player for the Royals this year? We'll go Brendan first here.
So I am of two minds for this one. In terms of the more likely and more conventional pick, I'm going to go with Vinny Pasquantino, and I'm going to bank on sort of an NFL philosophy here. We talk so much about guys recovering from ACLs, and in the first, like, everybody recovers from it now. This is not the death sentence for a career it once was. But in the first year back, guys usually are not able to get to 100%. Go look at Cortland Sutton in Denver, who has been really good the last couple of years, but his first year back after an ACL tear, we never knew if he was going to be anything more than like a wide receiver 3 ever again. So it takes a little time to bounce back from those things. Let's go 2 seasons back. Remember what happened to Vinny Pasquantino? Big time injury cost him a lot of the season after he got out to that red hot start. Last year, we remember he started really slowly, picked it up in the back half of the season. I think another year where he doesn't have to, he had the injury late, but not like a labrum or anything like that. It was the thumb, right? So I think having a full off season to just be normal, to be healthy, to be able to be in the regular swing of things, second year post that labrum injury in his shoulder, I think is going to do wonders for him. I think he is going to look more like the batter, Dan, that you and I for several years now have talked about, being that professional approach. He's going to get on base a little bit more. He's going to see pitches a little bit better. I don't think he's going to press as much at the plate. That's my conventional pick. I'll offer you a little bit more of a non-conventional pick, though. Best hitter outside of Bobby Witt Jr., not on the roster right now. Trade deadline acquisition.
That's an interesting thought, and I think it's certainly a possibility that by the end of the year we have a different answer to this question. I'm with you on Vinny. I think this is a year where he can kind of consolidate the things that he has done well in his first 3 years as a big leaguer, where he's got a good batting eye, he makes good contact, he's shown the ability for that pull power, some of that home run power, and I think he's able to consolidate all of those things and bring them together and have a really productive season in the middle of that Royals order. Spencer, real quick, what say you? Most valuable non-Bobby Witt Jr. offensive player for the Royals.
This is going to sound funny because he is aging and he's not their full-time catcher anymore. But I think because he's going to get starts at first base, he's going to be your designated hitter. He's going to be in the lineup a lot this season. I think Salvador Perez and Mr. Immortal.
I think that that is a good call. That certainly, I think he'll play a little less catcher this year, and we'll see if that it positively impacts his offense. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll continue our Royals preview with a breakout pick, a disappointment pick, and a bold 2025 prediction coming up next here on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk rolling along on our Royals and Major League Baseball preview edition of the show. We want your predictions for the Royals, record predictions. Where do they finish in the Central? Who's going to break out this year for the boys in blue? Text them, 785-272-9429. You can also drop them in the YouTube comments if you're watching on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk is the channel. You know the Bard had to weigh in with his record prediction. I hope that the Royals can score more than they did in 24. The pitching is tight. If they're healthy and right, they'll win 86 and 4 more. So that is echoing Spencer's 90-win prediction from earlier. How about some quick hitters here for breakout performer of 2025? I keep saying MJ Melendez. I don't know what a breakout looks like for MJ Melendez. I don't think it's 35 home runs in an all-star game, but I think MJ is going to hang on to a gig in the outfield. I think he's going to keep his job. I think the average and the on-base percentage are going to go up to playable levels, and I think he's going to have a career high in home runs this year. So that's what I'll call a breakout for MJ Melendez. Spencer, who's breaking out for the Royals?
I think it's a guy who was coming off of an injury last year, and they put him in the bullpen, performed really well down the stretch. They now moved him to a starter. I think a breakout performer is going to be Chris Bubich. He's going to be
love that,
as if maybe you have 3 number 1 starters.
I don't know that I'd go that far, but I do think that he can produce to the same level that Brady Singer produced.
Yes.
In the rotation last year. I love that pick. I'm very high on Chris Bubich. Spencer, Brendan, who's your breakout pick for the Royals this year?
Bubich was actually my backup pick because I didn't know if we could qualify Vinny Pasquantino as a breakout candidate, but I'm all in. I think Vinny's going to have a really good year. I'm going to get even farther into that here with our bold predictions in a second, but I think Vinny's in line to have a really, really good year, to be a top-of-the-line American League first baseman this year. I think he's due for a big season. So if we can qualify him as a guy who is still awaiting the true breakout, I'll go with him. But if he already had that as a rookie, fine, I'll go with Bubich as well.
How about a disappointment for the Royals this year? Player who you do not think will deliver and perform to their preseason expectations. Brendan, we'll start with you and go in reverse.
I feel bad saying this because he's really a victim of his own success, but I have to go with Seth Lugo, I think. And I think Seth Lugo could still be very good this year, but guys, he threw over 200 innings last year for the first time in his entire career. He's mostly been a reliever in his career, as we've been over before. He was a first-time All-Star at 34 years old. First time he ever got Cy Young or MVP votes at 34 years old. He's another year older this year. We've talked about the injury concerns, just, the nature of the inconsistencies of injuries for starting pitchers. I just don't know how he could be as good as he was last year. I feel like he's gotten talked about this offseason as, oh yeah, Reagans and Lugo. I don't know that Seth Lugo at 35 years old can be that good again. If he is, I will happily, offer a mea culpa. But I think just by virtue of being a victim of his own success, he's going to take a step back this year. He can still be very good. He can still be a solid number 2 starter. But I feel like I think the odds of him being this good again are super, super low.
Disappointing Royals, Spencer.
Yes, I think it's going to be Hunter Harvey.
The former National.
Yeah, I just think like the way his season ended last year, and he's just not. And he's had an okay spring, a pretty good spring, but the way it ended, I think I checked in on it.
Yeah, he gave up a home run in Arlington on Monday night.
Yeah, not a good look.
So for my disappointing Royal, I'm going with Hunter Renfroe. I think he's pretty cooked. I think that the Royals are going to have to do something about that spot in the lineup if Renfroe is going to be an everyday guy in right field. I don't see it. I think the power's about gone. I think he's a short side platoon player, and if they're planning on playing him every day in right field, the defense is regressing. I think that Hunter Renfroe will be the guy that the Royals will be looking to replace by the time June and July roll around. Quickly, your bold Royals prediction for 2025, Spencer.
The Royals make it to Game 7 of the ALCS, but fall to the Red Sox.
Wow. All the way to the American League Championship Series.
Game 7.
In Game 7.
One win away from.
Brendan, your boldest Royals prediction.
5 All-Stars. Cole Reagans, Lucas Erceg, tough if he's not a closer, but Lucas Erceg, Bobby, Salvi, Vinny.
All right. Bold Royals prediction. Not only is it a career high in home runs for MJ Melendez, I'm going to say it's 30 for MJ. If he gets enough at bats, I think it's 30.
Wow.
It might only come with
don't do this to yourself.
It might only come with about a 220 batting average, but I think there's 30 homer pop in MJ's bat. Let's do it. Let's go out on the limb for MJ one more time. Hopefully it doesn't burn me this time. Nothing at stake here. I'm not putting any money on this. Buyer beware on that prediction, but I'm feeling it. This is the year. I can feel it. We'll take a timeout, come back. Quick round of one. Got to go to wrap up this hour. 580 Sports Talk. Quick one, got to go here to wrap up this 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. I was going to do the 4 regional sites for this year's NCAA men's basketball tournament, but one of them is Newark, and that would have been an automatic L. So let's substitute the site for the Final Four this year. The 4 cities are San Antonio, San Francisco, Atlanta, and Indianapolis. One's got to go, Brendan.
I would probably say San Francisco because I work in small market media and I wouldn't be able to afford anything.
That's a valid point. I've spent time in all 4 of those cities. I've spent extended time in San Antonio and Indianapolis. I like both cities very much. That leaves San Francisco and Atlanta has Magic City Mondays, and San Francisco does not. So San Francisco out.
Why do you want to go to Magic City, Dan?
I've heard it's a lot of fun. I heard they got great wings. Really, really good wings.
Yeah.
Wings so good it almost blew up the NBA quarantine bubble. That's how good the wings are there.
That's true.
I do love a good chicken wing. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, our Major League Baseball predictions for 2025. And Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com joins us for the Wildcat Wrap-up. That's all still to come on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on a hump day afternoon on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online, 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube stream. We're streaming on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzynski, Spencer Dupuis will be back in a bit. Brendan Dworzynski will duck out in a bit for some more Washburn media responsibilities because the Ichabods are still playing basketball. They are into the Final Four in Division II men's basketball. They are into the Elite Eight. Brendan, I am embarrassed how long it took me to divin the meaning of the hashtag that is on the court there in the Ford Center. I stood there looking at it like, what is the Me-lete 8? Why is it the Me-lete 8? And then, it's M-Elite 8, as in men's Elite 8. That's what they're doing here.
I was having a conversation with Washburn SID extraordinaire Gene Castle about it. It's stupid. Let's just be blunt. The NCAA has done a great job with this. That for all the problems with the NCAA, they do a great job with their championships, and that is the case here as well in Evansville. That hashtag is very stupid. It is very dumb. It's already long enough. Elite 8 is what, 10 characters already? If you're going to do Me-lete 8, it's 11. Just make it men's. If it's already going to be long, just make it men's Elite 8 and be done with it. Especially, or Elite 8M or something.
Especially because
Me-lete is ridiculous.
It looks so much like Me-lete 8. Like it's ours. Like, are we taking ownership of the Elite 8? Is it my Elite 8? Is it Me-lete 8? Like, am I the Elite 8? I don't understand. So, yeah, bothered me longer than I care to admit until I finally figured out, it's M, capital M, capital Elite, capital E8. So that's where we got. My Final Four is tomorrow night. Be Dallas Baptist and Cal State Dominguez Hills, in the first game. And then the finale, Nova Southeastern and the Ichabods of Washburn, a championship caliber matchup in the Final Four. 8:30 tip-off from Ford Center, Evansville tomorrow night. Brendan will have the call again on our sister station, the exclusive home of the Ichabods, Country 106.9. Again, that pregame coming up at 8:15 tomorrow. So looking forward to that. And you'll be catching up with Coach Ballard and I presume some other Ichabod players here in just a little while, Brendan.
Yes, indeed. We will talk to Coach Ballard here in just a little bit for our pregame show tomorrow night. We're also going to chat with Andrew Orr, the starting big man for Washburn basketball as well. One of my favorite players that I've ever gotten to cover. Such a great personality, such a heck of a player too. Has been such an integral part of Washburn and building to this point where they are now, the past and the present for this team. So looking forward to talking to both of them. We'll have those two interviews on our pregame and then halftime show tomorrow. Pregame is scheduled for about 8:15, but if the first game goes long, we'll start a little bit later. Man, I tell you what, I'm happy that Washburn is playing Nova because, oh my God, with all the steals and the deflections and the balls out of bounds and the fouls, felt like their game took 6 hours yesterday. That's why Washburn started a little bit late. So for those of you who already stayed up late to watch or listen to it, I know it was even a delayed start there. Oh my goodness, that game took forever. And then Assumption's fouling a bunch at the end. Oh my, interminable end to that game. So hopefully Washburn just wins by 25. We don't even have to worry about it. We can just cruise into the national championship game. But
that sounds great. Sign me up.
I have a feeling against that Nova team, one loss all year. They've lost something like 5 games in the last 4 years. It's ridiculous. I don't think that'll probably be the outcome, but it's going to be a blast no matter what. I'd argue it's the 2 best teams in the country going head-to-head tomorrow night.
That is coming up tomorrow, again, over on our sister station, Country 106.9. Still to come this hour on 580 Sports Talk, we got What Is Wrong With You coming up, and we're going to crown a short week champion so we can do our semifinals for the month on Friday. No show tomorrow, Royals baseball. And we got Tim Fitzgerald coming for the Wildcat Wrap-up, so stay tuned for that. But first, it is time to make our yearly Major League Baseball predictions. Season technically has already begun. The Dodgers and the Cubs having played a pair of games in Tokyo last week. Dodgers are 2-0, Cubs are 0-2. Rest of the league, 0-0. Tomorrow is the real and true opening day. And season begins, and we hit the ground running for the 162-game marathon. Let's make our predictions. Let's start in the American League. We've got graphics for this. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, we're going to throw some graphics up that, I don't know, graphic design, not really my passion, but we'll see how they look. And we want to hear your predictions as well for the Royals, for the rest of Major League Baseball. Get them in on the text line, 785-272-9429. Drop them in the YouTube comments as well, as you can interact throughout the show in our YouTube chat. Again, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Once again, the story here is that Brendan and Spencer copy each other's homework because all of their projections are incredibly similar. But let's start in the American League, and here we go. Oh, that looked great. That looks really good on the YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, that looks slick.
It really pops.
So these are our American League predictions, and we've all got the same American League Central winner, which we told you in the first hour. We're all behind the Royals to win the AL Central. Again, I would not be surprised if the Royals finished anywhere from first to fourth in the Central, because I think the top four teams could all win the division. But I think the Royals have a guy who can win the MVP. They've got some real pitching depth. They're going to be really good on the mound from start to finish. And I think that I think the Guardians got worse. I think the Tigers were a bit of a fluke. And I think the Twins did not get any better. And I don't think they're a mentally tough baseball team, as they proved in September of last year. So I'll take the Royals for tangible and intangible reasons. We've all got the Royals in the Central. We've all got the Rangers in the West. The champions from 2 years ago dealt with some injury issues last year. But all of us going with the Rangers. Spencer, why'd you pick the Rangers?
I just think they're the best in the West. Like, there's not a lot there.
Yeah, it's an interesting division, right? Because the Mariners are only trying to win 54% of their games, and the Astros, I think, have taken a little bit of a step back, and the A's and the Angels are the A's and the Angels in that division.
Yeah.
We have some difference of opinion out east. I'm going with the Orioles. I don't love their pitching staff, but they are so deep in their lineup. They're good from the left side. They're good from the right side. They're young. I think they're going to overwhelm teams with offense, and I think they have the opportunity to make a big splash and go get an impact arm at the trade deadline that can really fortify the front of their rotation to go with guys like Charlie Morton and Grayson Rodriguez. So I've got the O's. I just think they're the most talented team in the East. Brendan and Spencer both going with the Sox. Brendan, why Boston?
I do like Boston's pitching. Adding Garrett Crochet, I think, was obviously a boon for them. He's going to start opening day. Obviously, a really good arm there. Their bullpen, I don't love it overall. They've got enough offense. I do love their approach, though. They just had a presser today where Alex Cora was asked about, well, where are you going to put Rafael Devers? He said he's not a DH. He's a third baseman. You've talked about after adding Alex Bregman that he's going to end up at second base. And Cora said, we've talked to them about it. Devers is going to DH. Bregman is going to play third because we care about winning, and that's what we think is going to win, which I don't like Alex Cora. I don't know many people outside of Boston who do at this point, but I actually love that approach. The bleep your feelings kind of approach. And look, it might piss off Rafael Devers and he might sign elsewhere when he becomes a free agent here in the near future. But at least for now, I think it's going to work out. I like their combination of starting pitching and offense. Again, I'm not sure about their bullpen. I think they've got the most to offer from that division. You mentioned the Twins as a mentally weak team. I don't think they're like completely inept in the, in between the ears, but I don't know how much of that toughness come the dog days and come the postseason Baltimore has either, given the way they kind of sputtered at the end of last year. And he's just one player, but I do worry a little bit about their catcher, Adley Rutschman, who's obviously supremely talented, but by the same token, also took a big step back this past season. So that's why I like the Red Sox. I think the Orioles are good. I've got them as a playoff team, but I like the Red Sox a little better. One quick note about the West. Now that we all picked the Rangers, I am going to put actual legal tender American currency on the Astros to win the division. I'm willing to call it a guarantee at this point because I did the same thing last year. Everyone else picked somebody else. I said, no, it's going to be the Astros because that's just what they do. And they did. And now I fell into the trap this year. I'm going to bet the Astros to win the division now.
I have the Astros in the playoffs. Neither of you two have the Astros in the playoffs. I love the way that they develop pitchers. They're going to find guys who get outs for them at the top of their rotation. Hunter Brown took a huge step forward last year. I think he's going to be their guy. Christian Walker, I think, will provide some offense that they're going to be missing with some big losses like Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman. And I think the Astros are going to find a way into the playoffs. I'm also the only one with the Yankees in the playoffs out of the American League. Look, I'm concerned. No, you don't. Oh, yeah, you do. I lied. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at the brass.
I'm out on the Yankees.
You're out on the Yankees.
It kind of blends in, though.
It does.
That one does blend in.
Yeah, a little bit on the graphic. Here's my thought with the Yankees. I am concerned about their pitching. I think there are legitimate concerns about their pitching with no Garrett Cole for the entire season. They got Aaron Judge, man, and I think Jazz Chisholm, public enemy number one last we left the Yankees. Jazz Chisholm, I think, is going to be really good for a full season in New York. I'm buying that. I'm buying Jason Dominguez, the Martian, for a full season. How much I'm buying him? More about that later on. I think there's enough offense there to see the Yankees through into the postseason. Brendan, you're out on a limb. You're the lone wolf with the Rays and the Mariners in the playoffs. Real quick, why Tampa? Why Seattle in the postseason?
Logan Gilbert and George Kirby, and just the starting pitching staff in general for Seattle. They're not going to, that team doesn't want to win, but those two and that staff, I think, are going to drag them at least into contention. The Rays, that's another vibes pick. It probably should be the Astros in that spot, but that's just a process pick. And I think they're shaping up to be a little bit healthier to start the year. That'll last until like May 1st. But at least for now, I'm going to go with what they've been able to build in Tampa.
Spencer, you've got the Guardians in the playoffs. Why?
I just think they're still going to get in. They're going to be like an 82-win team, and they're going to be the third team to get in.
I just think they took
I feel like they did, but I just
step back on offense, and
there.
they were so reliant on two things that I don't think you can count on repeating, like an all-time great bullpen and all-time great runners in scoring position production. And I think if they don't get either of those two things, they're a pretty ordinary ball club. And I don't think ordinary is going to be good enough to make the playoffs in the American League this year. All right, let's go to the National League. And look, there are a lot of teams that can win their divisions, but not if you listen to us, because we have the same division champion picks up and down. The Dodgers in the West, because duh. If you're looking for insight on the Dodgers from us, we're not going to give you anything different than you could hear literally anywhere else. The Dodgers had the best team last year, and they added two unbelievable pitchers in Blake Snell and Roki Sasaki. And they still have Shohei Ohtani, and maybe he'll pitch this year. So, yeah, the Dodgers. In the Central, we're all going with the Cubbies. Brendan, that's your team. Why are they going to win the Central?
Because that division is horrific. It's genuinely awful. The Cardinals are an embarrassment. The Pirates aren't even a baseball team. It's a Ponzi scheme at this point. I will never trust the Milwaukee Brewers as long as I live. And the Reds are also like bordering on Ponzi scheme. I don't know what the heck their plan has been this offseason. I mean, the Cubs are just the lesser of five evils. They might win that division with 83 wins, but the Cubs at least added Kyle Tucker and have a few other players. They have still coming back. A good pitching staff. Obviously, you've got at least a few other reasonable bats out there. So I'm like 83, 84 wins is going to win the Central. That division's going to suck.
Yeah.
I love the addition of Kyle Tucker. I thought long and hard about making him my NL MVP pick, and then I remembered that Wrigley Field can sometimes depress power numbers a little bit, and backed off just a tad, but I love that addition. I do think he takes him over the top, makes them the best team in the Central. We're all on the Braves out east. They made the playoffs despite losing their best pitcher and best hitter to season-ending injuries last year. They're going to get Spencer Strider back at some point. They're going to get Ronald Acuna Jr. back at some point this year. And if they had enough depth to make the playoffs without those guys, I think they've got enough juice to win the East with them. Our wild card picks, all three of us have the Phillies making the postseason. I thought really hard about making them my Eastern champions, but a little bit of a concern about some age affecting that offense, and maybe even some of their veteran starting pitchers. That's a team that is aging, where I feel like the Braves are still a little bit on the young side. Spencer, you and I with the D-backs as a playoff team. They were the number one offense in the National League last year. Nobody scored more runs than the Diamondbacks. They couldn't get anybody out. So to address that, they went out and spent buku bucks on Corbin Burns. I think that's going to help them quite a bit as they pursue the wild card. I've got the Reds. I'm the lone wolf on the Reds making the playoffs because it's fun to take a sleeper. And the Reds are my sleeper. Terry Francona in the dugout is going to be worth some wins. Ellie Dela Cruz is electric. He's just an electric factory of a player. Hunter Green is a bona fide ace. I think they've got some exciting young pitching depth. They're going to have to find some offense. Spencer Steer's going to have a bounce back year. But I like the Reds. I think that they sneak into the postseason. I think there's some wins to be had in that Central Division. Brendan, you're the lone wolf on the Padres. Why are they going to the playoffs?
So I'm going to just tell you up front, the National League this year feels like the NFC in the NFL this past year, and the Dodgers feel like the Eagles. Like, yeah, they're going to win a ton of games, but I think a lot of the teams are going to play are kind of butt. And like the Central is going to be terrible. I don't know how good the East is going to be. It's been so good for a while. The Padres, I mean, I don't feel like super strong conviction going with them over the Diamondbacks. The D-back, I know Jordan Montgomery stunk last year anyway, but losing him for the entire season, obviously that hurts going into opening day. It's not a great, strong feeling, but I'm just going to trust the pieces they've still got offensively to carry them.
Brendan and Spencer both picking the Mets as a wild card. Spencer, what?
Yeah,
that simple. Yeah, adding one.
Sorry, Spencer, but yeah,
no, I agree with you.
That's my reason why.
They were the ultimate good vibes team last year, and they added Ted Williams to that team, and that's a good argument for the Mets. I'm a little concerned about their pitching. That's why I don't have them into the postseason. All right, so let's go to our award predictions and our World Series predictions. We'll start with our MVP picks. It's a clean sweep across the board. All of us are picking Bobby Witt Jr. to win the MVP. Like I said, he could be 20% worse as a player than he was last year and be an 8-win player, and those guys win the MVP. Add to that this. We all think the Royals are going to the playoffs. Again, if they go to the playoffs, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to have another big year. And I feel like he might get the MVP award that sometimes they give in the NBA, like the Joel Embiid MVP award, where it's like, well, you know what? We could give it to Judge every year, but you had an awesome year last year. You're having another awesome year this year. Let's make sure you get your MVP too. And I think that Bobby Witt Jr. gets that rub of the green and wins his first MVP award. In the National League, Spencer and I both going with Shohei Ohtani. That's a little bit of a gimme pick. I do think he's going to get back on the mound at some point this year. And if he hits 40 home runs and he pitches he's the MVP.
Exactly. That's where I'm at on it as well.
Brendan, you're going with Juan Soto. You think he's the MVP of the NL?
I think he's going to mash at Shea Stadium, Citi Field, whatever the hell it is. And also, like, superstar, big contract, Met, that just screams MVP. He's great. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame caliber player. So, no, I'm going to go Soto in his new location.
He is. I almost picked him, but I don't have the Mets going to the playoffs, and I think that might hurt him. Over in the Cy Young races, we all have the same National League Cy Young pick. Paul Skeens of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nobody's talking about the Pirates because they're going to stink. They didn't spend any money. Their owner's cheap, but they have the most exciting pitcher and maybe the best in all of baseball. In Paul Skeens. What a waste. What a waste. So that guy's going to pitch and be that awesome. It's going to be like, what year was it where Steve Carlton won 27 games and the Phillies won like 27 games that he didn't pitch total, and he won the Cy Young with something like that. It's going to be one of those Cy Young. Skeens, I really do believe is the best pitcher in baseball. We have different picks for our American League Cy Young. I'm going back-to-back for Tarik Skubal. Again, this is a bit of a cheat. Like, I think he's the best pitcher in the American League. He proved it last year. He won the Triple Crown. He may not do that again this year, but he's going to front that rotation. He's a horse. He makes guys miss. I really, really like Skubal, so I'll go with a second straight Cy Young for the Detroit left-hander. Brendan, you mentioned Logan Gilbert of the Mariners. I like this pick.
He's maybe my favorite pitcher in all of baseball to watch. And I watch a lot of Mariners baseball because it's my wife's favorite team. Now, granted, my wife also goes to bed at like 8:30 these days. So I watch most Mariners games alone at this point. But I love watching Logan Gilbert pitch. He and George Kirby are an awesome 1-2. I think you have even better in command of the zone with Kirby. I mean, he just doesn't walk anyone. And I thought, well, he's probably, Logan's probably around like 2 walks per night. No, he's at 1.5 walks per nine as well. He's got great command. I think a little higher upside with some of his stuff. And if you're ever getting a Cy Young from a team that wasn't all that good and maybe didn't make the playoffs, the Mariners, perfect example. Go look at King Felix's Cy Young from 2010.
Spencer, you're going with the new Red Sock. Somebody who changed his socks.
Yes, part of the reason they're going to go to the World Series this year is great pitching from Crochet. Obviously, his last outing in spring training, he had 9 strikeouts and 5 1/3. So, although he was facing a Pirates spring training lineup,
Nah, he's a
but
dude.
still, I think he's a dude, and I think he's the reason. He's part of the reason that I have the prediction that I have next.
Just watching
for
MLB Network
the World Series
this morning, and he was a clean sweep pick from the MLB Central panel to win the AL Cy Young. Rookie of the Year picks. Both Brendan and I have Roki Sasaki, the Japanese sensation, winning the Rookie of the Year for the Dodgers. It's a bit of a cheat because he's been a pro for like 5 years already, but that's our pick. Spencer, unsurprisingly, went with a national, Dylan Cruz.
Yeah. He's
good pick.
He's the reason they're going 81 and 81 this year.
Okay, we were going to get there. Spoiler alert. We all have different AL Rookie of the Year picks. Spencer going with Boston's Roman Anthony, who I don't think he made the opening day roster, but he is the number 1 prospect in baseball, and I suspect we'll see him sooner rather than later.
Yes, and I think he's another reason why they're going to make it to the World Series.
Brendan's going with Cam Smith, who's barely played in the minor leagues, but made the Astros and gets to benefit from a friendly hitting environment.
Yeah, the Astros are evil, and this is their new evil development.
And
their new super weapon.
And I am going with the Yankee outfielder, Jason Dominguez. I think that he will, left to just start and play every day, I think he's going to mash. I think he's going to put up some big numbers. Obviously, Yankee Stadium, very hitter-friendly. I'll go with Dominguez for my American League Rookie of the Year. All 3 of us have the Dodgers winning the World Series. It's a boring pick, but they're the best team. There's a lot that can happen in October, but when in doubt, pick the best team. I'm going with the Rangers to win the American League pennant. Again, better health. Wyatt Langford's going to be a star. Corey Seager's going to be healthier. And Jacob deGrom is back. I think that's a big help as well. So I got the Rangers winning the pennant. Both you, Brendan and Spencer, have the Red Sox winning the pennant. Real quick, Spencer, how many games of the World Series?
What?
How many games will the World Series go? Dodgers over Red Sox in X.
6.
6 games. Brendan?
I almost went 4, but give me 5.
I will say Dodgers over Rangers in 5. Those are our Major League Baseball predictions. Real quick, we kind of covered the Cubs. We all have different favorite teams here on 580 Sports Talk. Kind of covered the Cubs. We've all got them winning the division. Spencer, you think 500 for the Nationals?
Yeah, I mean, they went 71 and 91 last year. I think they've improved. I think their young prospects are getting better, and you're going to see them on a full-time basis. I think they're going to push for a wild card spot in August, but ultimately by mid-September, they're out of it. They fall short.
We had a text from the 785 nodding to your proficiency betting your favorite pro football team and college football team this year from the 785.
Yeah.
Who cares about Spencer's Royals pick? I want to hear his Nationals pick.
Yeah.
So there you go. 81 and 81. I'm sure that's the over. I'm sure that's the Vegas over for total wins. I am a Rockies fan. They're going to stink. But they won't lose 100. I hope. 68 and 94. They're going to stink. This will be the last time I mention them until the Royals play them in late April. Hopefully. What is wrong with you? Coming up next here at 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you? Sponsored by our guy Mo, Ryan Mowinkle. Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services. Visit his website, ryanmowinkle.com. I'm solo now, so I've got two stories today to bring you to try and take down our current weekly champion, our winner from yesterday. I'm not going to pay a lot for these lap dances. That's a Wash reference. Anybody remember those Meineke commercials? I'm not going to pay a lot for this muffler. Anyway, this guy decided he wasn't going to pay at all for $160 worth of lap dances he received at a gentleman's club in Florida. You're not allowed to do that. You can't just walk out without paying for services rendered. So that's our current weekly champion. Two new stories today. The first one, Brendan submitted today and referred to the story as just the tip. We go to Coconut Creek, Florida, where a woman decided to rob the Dairy Queen in Coconut Creek, but only got away with $1.50. 44-year-old Allison Fetting brandished a black handgun and ordered the clerk to give her money from the register. Instead, she just ran off with a tip jar, and there was $1.50 in the tip jar. First of all, that's rough, man. Tip the people that make your ice cream here and there. You know, goodness of your own heart. Tip them a little bit. Anyway, she was arrested a day later, only just now making her way back to Broward County. She robbed the Dairy Queen for $1.50. She's going to do prison time for it because she did it with a gun. Not the brightest bulb in the box. For my story today, we're going to the Great White North. We're going to Canada. Winnipeg, to be precise, where a woman in her 30s was run over by a vehicle following an argument with a driver about saving an open parking spot. This happened on Saturday. The victim was standing in an unoccupied parking stall to save it for a family member. Now, come on. You can't do this. Come on. You can't do that. Just stand in a parking spot to save it. Nah, man, not how it works. You either get there and you park or you don't. Anyhow, the victim was standing in the unoccupied parking stall. A separate vehicle arrived first. The driver began arguing with the woman and proceeded to drive into the stall, knocking her to the ground and trapping the victim under the front tires of the SUV. Before the driver left with no concern for the victim, the 40-year-old woman was later arrested and charged with assault with a weapon and driving carelessly. So those are our two stories today. Robbing the Dairy Queen for $1.50 and then running somebody over because they were trying to personally save a parking spot. I'm going to go with the Dairy Queen story today. I'm one person judge, but you know it's unbiased because it wasn't my story. That is my lean for today, but I can't get over the fact that a guy went to a strip club and thought he could just sample the wares and decide at the end of the night, yeah, I'm not paying for that. I ain't got it. If you ain't got it, don't go. Don't go to the strip club if you cannot pay for the services rendered therein. Pretty simple. Didn't know some strip clubs apparently just let you put dances on a tab. Yeah, put that on my tab real quick. I'm shocked the dancers are cool with that, frankly. But yeah, you can't leave without paying. And you can't dine and dash, and you can't dance and dash either. So that is going to be our short week winner on What Is Wrong With You. It'll advance to our monthly semifinals coming up on Friday. What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by our guy Mo. Ryan Mowinkle, Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services. Again, check his website out, ryanmowinkle.com. When we come back, Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com will join us for a Wildcat Wrap-up here on 580 WIBW. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Wednesday on 580 Sports Talk for the Wildcat Wrap-up. And Fitz, let's start with those Midi Cats, K-State women, into the Sweet 16 for the first time in 23 years with their win over Kentucky on Sunday. How much did Jeff Mitty's program need that win and need to get over that hump into the Sweet 16?
Year for him, and they couldn't get beyond it, and he needed to because he's had teams good enough, and last year was certainly one of them, but they had the injury, the Lee, and it happens again this year, but they seem to be in a better spot. She seems to be healthier coming back from this injury, and they needed every bit of that to get through against a really good Kentucky team, and how they've got a heck of a challenge ahead. But getting to the Sweet 16 is it's a notable moment for this program, and we'll see if he can build off this in the future.
The win over Kentucky highlighted by the play of Tamira Poindexter, the shooting of Poindexter, who hit 8 threes, including the 2 big shots in overtime. How validating was that performance and really all season long to the transfer portal, what's the word I'm looking for here? The transfer portal strategy that Jeff Mitty employed this offseason to try and bring in players who were big-time players so that this program and this team didn't have to be so dependent on Ayoka Lee this season.
Yeah, it paid off big time. Poindexter was brilliant. I talked to her today and asked her about being in the zone because she was. And she missed her first 4 or 5 field goals in that game, but kept playing. And Serena Sindel was telling them to keep shooting, keep playing. And they did. And you're right. Having her as another scoring option, which, she hasn't always been this year. She's capable of it, but she was willing to fit herself onto a team and be a part of that team rather than just a star at Tulsa. And, of course, Kennedy Taylor comes through the portal, too. They really did gain a lot through the portal and closing the gap when they're without Lee, when they have to play without her, or someone just does a really good job defending and you've got more weapons now, which they do.
Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. The matchup against the number 1 seed USC obviously looks much different than we anticipated it would due to the awful injury suffered by USC star guard Juju Watkins in their round of 32 win over Mississippi State. No Juju certainly changes the equation for that USC team, but they blew out Mississippi State without her. They aren't just a one-woman show either. What to you stands out as the thing that K-State must do if they are to go to the Elite Eight?
Play really well. I mean, even without Juju Watkins, this team, she got hurt in the first 5 minutes of that game, and they went ahead and beat Mississippi State by like 40. So this is a really good team with a star player, with an elite national headliner who unfortunately blew out a knee, and that's just, it happens. And it was horrifying to see someone at the top of her game like that with such a bright career go down, and obvious from the very start, it was she'd done something horrible to her knee from the way she went down, the level of pain. But she's not a one-person show either. There's a lot of good parts on that team, and they all stepped up, and they're going to have to. Jeff Mitty talked today about it was kind of hard to scout them because they haven't played many minutes without her, and I kind of get that. She's played about 34 minutes a game, which is probably skewed from, the real big blowout. So in competitive games, they haven't seen many minutes of USC playing without her. And it's been a tough scout from that standpoint. Who do they turn to and now who picks up the slack? But no matter what, K-State's going to have to play at a high level. They're going to have to get their defense set. USC likes to attack you before you even get set up. And they're going to have to hit shots, a lot of shots.
From the women who play on to the men whose season has been over now for a couple of weeks, the transfer portal is open, and it's been a little quiet from the K-State perspective in terms of the transfer portal. What are you hearing? Do you expect there to be an influx of players into the portal? Are you maybe surprised that we haven't heard about a K-State player or two already jumping into those portal waters. And what are you expecting? What do you think Jerome Tang is expecting as far as portal defections and how active they'll need to be in that portal this year?
Yeah, I think we're going to see some. I don't know if it'll be, the entire roster like we've seen in the past. Like we all expect from Caleb Rich to be in the portal at some point. I mean, his misery was pretty obvious as that season went on, and that guy was even told fans that he was going to transfer at the end of the season as he walks off a court. So, yeah, you expect him for sure, and I would probably expect someone else, but there's a bunch of guys kind of in a gray area where we don't know if TJ Lewis is going to stay or, what's going on with other players. It will be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Did I say Lewis? Isn't it? Did I just call him an author?
That's C.S. Lewis. That's Chronicles of Narnia.
I just crossed.
The wardrobe in Narnia is one great big transfer portal when you think about it.
There I see. I'm brilliant. That's it. I'm brilliant. That's it. That's the end of the segment. Good talk, everyone.
That's as good as I can do on that one. Tim Fitzgerald joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for the Wildcat Wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk. Obviously, there were a lot of portal additions for last year's K-State team. Do you think that might be more of a balance this year? They might be trying to bring in some more high school players that they have scouted, or do you expect the vast majority of additions to fill out next year's roster to still come from that portal?
Yeah, they have 2 commitments from high school players, and honestly, both of them are, I don't want to call them projects, but probably not immediate impact guys. There's game there, but they probably need to grow into this level of play. So the thing to keep an eye on is college basketball on the men's side. You can go up to 15 scholarships now, which is the old rule before they went to 13 in name of Title IX, but the women stayed at 15, so equality meant you had different number of scholarships, which never made sense to me, but they do get those scholarships back. And will they use them? Because it's optional. You don't have to fill all your scholarships now, and you certainly don't with more. But I think they'll get close to it, maybe 14, if not 15. And that means even if a bunch of guys stay, they're going to have room for a couple portal guys at the very least. And I think they're going to want to hit home runs. And, out of the blue today, we saw a report, and it was on X. And so who knows if it's true that Nigel Pack's actually showing interest in coming back to K-State for his final season, which would be fascinating.
That would be fascinating. Would a guy like Pack be welcomed back with open arms? Just let's treat the hypothetical like it's got some legs to it. A guy like that who was a very good Wildcat for 2 years, left for a big what was considered at the time a big chunk of change in the portal to go to Miami and had a nice run there. Has 1 year of eligibility left. Would that be a guy that K-State fans would be glad to see back in Manhattan? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I think he was close to staying. But remember how gobsmacked, I love that word, I don't exactly know what it means, we were that someone was paying him $400,000. We were stunned. And now that's chump change in the portal.
Yeah.
And so that might be a factor here that would impact that. How much, would K-State be able to spend on Nigel? But it's funny, over the course of the last 3 years, that went from a horrifying amount of money to doing business. I mean, that's what you got to do now. And I think he would be welcome back as a player. He certainly is exactly what the team needs. They need a, kind of a lead scorer, someone that can fill it up. And he was always more of a complimentary player at Miami. And I think he wouldn't mind coming back to familiar ground and knowing it would be kind of nice to transfer a new school for your last year and not have to figure out where all the buildings are and just kind of pick up where you left off in the past. So do I think this is going to happen? No, but it'd be kind of cool. And like I said, it is what K-State needs. They need someone that can get some buckets.
Couple more questions for Tim Fitzgerald on the Wildcat Wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz of GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. We're a week away from hearing from Chris Kleiman and getting spring football kicked off in Manhattan. Chris Kleiman will have his first press conference of the spring a week from today, April 2nd, in fact. What are you most excited about a week out of spring practice really getting underway in earnest? What is the thing for you that you will be most interested to track as spring practice gets underway?
Probably if we can get a grasp on the evolution of the offense, under Matt Wells, the new offensive coordinator, but also that offensive line with Brian LePack now coaching there. I think those are really interesting storylines of what this team will look like, particularly at those two elements, how the play calls kind of layer into each other, and also how the offensive line functions without the guy who, really was the heart and soul of how they built the offense, which was with the offensive line. I think they're going to be fine. And also, I'm kind of keeping an eye on another spring with Avery Johnson now as he kind of grows older and into more of a obvious leadership role. He's always been one, but now that he's an upperclassman, so to speak, it becomes obvious. And so those are the things that I'm going to kind of focus on. But just a lot of little stories around this roster that we'll be covering at Go Powercat as the spring goes forward. And it's a kind of a compressed spring as the weirdness of college football has led to some changes.
And lastly, to make sure we cover all of our bases, pun absolutely intended, K-State baseball out to a 5-1 start in Big 12 play, beat Nebraska at Taunton last night. They've got 3 games at home coming up against Texas Tech. And I got to be honest, I think that this start is exactly what Pete Hughes would have wanted for this program to prove that last year's run to the Super Regional, not a fluke. They look like they're building on last year with a lot of new faces.
Yeah, what a great job recruiting the staff did. They put together a team that is playing better than the team did last year at this point. To get out to a 5-1 start in Big 12 play is very notable. You get Tech coming in. You can kind of stay ahead of the curve by taking the series in any way. It'll get tougher as the season goes on. There's no doubt. Eventually you've got some pitching that wears down, and you face some obstacles, and you have to dig into your bench. But boy, this team has not just built a nice record; they've built a nice resume so far, and with some really quality wins and going out on the road and at neutral sites and playing some games. So I think this is going to be something fans are going to flock to Taunton Family Stadium here this spring when the weather, kind of gets nice. If it's supposed to get cold this weekend, unfortunately. But, when the weather's nice, I think we're going to see a lot of students out of Taunton here in April.
Tim Fitzgerald covers the Kansas State Wildcats. GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Become a VIP subscriber today and get access to Fitz and his staff's outstanding insight into all things K-State. And check him out Wednesdays here on 580 Sports Talk for the Wildcat Wrap-up. Fitz, always great to talk to you. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, buddy.
That is Tim Fitzgerald. We'll step aside for a timeout, come back, and wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk, right after this. Wrapping up the second hour of the show today here on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks to Tim Fitzgerald for joining the show for the Wildcat Wrap-up. K-State baseball on the air Friday night, 5:30 pregame from Toynton Family Stadium as the Wildcats open their three-game weekend Big 12 series with Texas Tech. Then, of course, Saturday night, K-State women are in action in the Sweet 16, taking on USC. That game will be heard right here as well. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Pregame coverage at 6:30 or immediately following Royals baseball, whichever is first. And then the tip-off from Spokane, Washington at 7 o'clock. So big weekend of K-State athletics here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Coming up in the final hour of the show, we've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Lots going on in the National Football League to get to, as well as the coaching carousel continuing to turn in college hoops. Also, we'll talk Chiefs, how their offseason haul to date compares to that of their closest competition, both division-wise and at the top of the AFC. And some final thoughts on the Royals before opening day tomorrow. Again, we will not have a show tomorrow. We will have Royals baseball instead. Pre-game coverage at 2:30. First pitch at 3:05 from the K as the Royals and the Guardians open up 2025. All three of us on the show, myself, Brendan, and Spencer, all picking the Royals to win the American League Central. And I tried to talk myself out of it, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I do think they've got the best collection of talent and maybe even the most promising depth of any of the real contenders in the Central. And the fact that they're going for it and no one else is, I think that makes a psychological impact in the Royals clubhouse, even if they didn't go for it quite as vigorously as I might have liked for them to have done so. We'll talk some more Royals in the 5 o'clock hour as well. Plus your text, 785-272-9429. Your YouTube comments, 580 Sports Talk is the channel. One more hour, 580 Sports Talk after this. Let's get it. Third and final hour on this Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Happy opening day eve to you and yours. Thanks for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color, streaming in video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero, right now flying the plane solo. We may hear from Brendan Dworzinski by the time this show ends. He's doing some media obligations out in Evansville, Indiana, as the Washburn men's basketball team, in case you missed that, is onward into the Final Four after their win last night over Lenoir-Rhyne in the Elite Eight. So Brendan's talking to some Ichabod players and coaches, and if he's able to make it back to his hotel room in time before the end of the show, we'll get Brendan back. Spencer Dupuis off the rest of the day. So it's you and me, and appreciate you hanging out. We got one more hour to get to, and it's our last hour before baseball season starts because we have no show for you tomorrow. The Royals and the Guardians start the 2025 season with a 3:05 first pitch in Kansas City, and although the weather doesn't look promising for the weekend, the baseball gods at least made sure to leave opening day largely untouched. At least we hope. The scheduled temperature is 79 degrees, and any chance of precipitation would appear to be later in the afternoon after the game would have been already in the books. So hopefully it's a bright, sunshiny day at the K and the start of something special for the 2025 Royals. You can hear the game right here, just like you can hear all 162 of them on the same place. You've been able to hear them all since the first pitch in 1969, right here, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. But the offshoot of tomorrow's 3:05 first pitch and 2:30 pregame for the Royals Baseball Network is no show for us. We'll be back on Friday. We'll be on with you on Friday, bringing you reaction to the Royals opener and so much more. But we got one more hour before that, so let's make it count. We're going to talk a little Chiefs later on. Piece from Ben Solak of ESPN.com earlier today, ranking the offseason hauls for all 32 teams. Where do the Chiefs rank? Do we agree? Do we disagree? Also, some final Royals thoughts before we get to opening day as well. If you missed any part of the show earlier, including the part where all three of us said the Royals are going to win the Central, I talked myself into it. I got to be honest. I woke up this morning not entirely sure I was going to pick the Royals to win the Central. Can easily talk myself into the Twins because I think they might have the best 1 through 26 roster. Could have talked myself into the Guardians because they're always good. Could have talked myself into the Tigers because they had that magical run last year. But I stuck with the Royals, stuck to my guns. I think 85 wins is going to get it done in the Central this year. So there aren't any great teams in the Central. It's 4 good ones. And I'll take the good one that A, went to the playoffs last year, B, tried to get better this offseason. And I think succeeded at that goal to a greater degree than any of the other teams. So if you missed us make that prediction or any of our other Major League Baseball predictions or anything else we did on today's show, like talk to Tim Fitzgerald in the 4 o'clock hour, play one, gotta go, talk Washburn basketball, well, you can catch up with our podcast on our website, 580WIBW.com. You can also subscribe on Spotify. You can take us with you on Spotify by searching for 580 Sports Talk and liking, following the podcast. Leave us a review. By the way, if you do that, leave us a review, rate us and review us, and give us that 5 stars. We appreciate it. Really does help us, mean a lot when you do that over on Spotify. Again, search for 580 Sports Talk. Or you can watch our video archive on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Many of you are watching us live on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube right now. A hello to all of you, and hope to see you in the live chat where you can interact with me and with your fellow listeners for the rest of the show. I'll tell you what, if you've got a baseball question for me for the upcoming year, give me anything. It's a baseball ask me anything, if you will. Drop it in the YouTube comments and I'll get to it. Or text it, 785-272-9429. If you're excited for baseball like I am, you got a baseball question, give it to me. Lay it on me. And we'll answer it before we're done here today. But first, how about we get into some 580 Sports Talk headlines, shall we? There's plenty to get to today on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll start with the two big NFL headlines from late last night from NFL.com. First, Russ to NYG. QB Wilson signing with Big Blue on 1 year, $10.5 million deal. Russell Wilson's late career Magical Mystery Tour continues. He will likely be the starting quarterback for the New York Giants, which would make him the first Week 1 black starting quarterback in the history of the New York Giants, who, in case you didn't know this, have been around a long time. Would not be the first black quarterback, period, full stop, to start a game for the Giants. Geno Smith and some others. But he would be the first one to start the season as the starting quarterback of Big Blue. I think Russell Wilson represents an upgrade from Daniel Jones and from Drew Lock and from Tommy DeVito and from any of the other garbage that the Giants have tried to run out there at quarterback in recent years. Do also think it's very clear that Russ is on the decline, that last year he still has a very defined set of things that he can do, but the things that he cannot do are also the same. And the stuff that made Russell Wilson special, the improvisation, the skills with his feet, his legs, the ability to extend plays, move around in the pocket, those things, those diminish as you get older. And Russell Wilson is not getting any younger. That being said, he's still a gifted enough passer, throws a great deep ball, that I think he is an upgrade for the Giants. Is he an upgrade enough to get them into the playoff discussion in the NFC? No. Absolutely not. But he's better than what they've had. And as a Russell Wilson fan, I am hoping for something like a happy ending for his career. He got Pittsburgh to the playoffs last season. That was a bit of a renaissance after 2 miserable years in Denver that I don't think were entirely Russell Wilson's fault. And again, that may be just me being a Russell Wilson fan. The last of the Russell Wilson fans, perhaps. But I really believe nothing that went wrong in Denver was his fault. It was Nathaniel Hackett being the worst NFL head coach maybe in history, and it was Sean Payton not wanting anything to do with Russell Wilson when he got him. So in a situation where they was actually wanted in Pittsburgh last year, he did fine. Definitely a ceiling. You're not winning a Super Bowl with him, but are the Giants better at quarterback than they were at this time yesterday before they signed Russell Wilson? 100%. There's also a lot of talk out there about this being a move because the Giants don't believe that Shedeur Sanders will be available for them to draft. And so they're just taking a quarterback and kicking the can down the road on finding their quarterback of the future. And that may be true. I'm not as convinced that Shedeur is going to go number 2 to the Browns. I would not be surprised if Shedeur slips in the draft because, well, for a lot of reasons. Number 1, I think he has some flaws as a prospect. And number 2, I think that whatever team drafts him, there are a lot of teams that have coaches that are really involved in the draft process. And if you're a coach and you draft Shedeur Sanders, you might also be hiring your replacement. Because I still believe Shedeur's daddy's going to coach him at some point in the NFL. I firmly believe that's going to happen. So if you're Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, you really want to draft a guy that maybe has you looking over your shoulder all next year at, am I going to keep my job? Are they just going to hire Coach Prime over me? Interesting to think about, I think. I do not think it is a gimme that Shedeur goes number 2. And I think he could have a long wait. I really do, in the green room on draft day. So that was one NFL headline. Another one from NFL.com. Diggs shipping out to Boston. Pats Inc. vet wide receiver to 3-year, $69 million contract. First of all, nice. Second of all, what? There were $69 million out there for Stephon Diggs? Man, good for him. Coming off of 2 years where he's dealt with some injuries now, including a torn ACL. 3 years and $69 million. I know the Pats had money. May as well give it to somebody. And I'll never be mad at a guy for getting the bag. But boy, late career Stephon Diggs with a young, unproven quarterback in Drake May, that could be combustible there in New England. I support the Patriots trying to get Drake May a number 1 wide receiver. Just don't know if Stephon Diggs is still that at this stage in his career. 3 years, $69 million. You could have knocked me over with a feather when I saw that number. I saw Diggs for the Patriots. Yeah, it makes a bit of sense. 1 year, prove it deal maybe. 1 year, bunch of incentives. 3 for 69? That's no joke. Good for Stephon Diggs. Not so sure how good it is for the Patriots, but good for Stephon Diggs. Moving on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's talk college basketball coaching carousel. These headlines from CBS Sports. First, Xavier hiring younger Pitino to replace Texas-bound Miller. We're going to get father versus son in the Big East next year. Richard Pitino, fresh off a season in which he actually won a tournament game at New Mexico. Good for him. New Mexico, legendary for tournament flops. They won a game in the tournament at New Mexico this year before they lost in the round of 32. Now he's moving on to Xavier. Xavier, of course, losing their head coach, Sean Miller, to Texas, who hired him to replace the fired Rodney Terry. I think it's a good hire. I'm a little surprised it wasn't Chris Mack going back to Xavier. He posted last night on his social media that he was looking forward to a second year at Charleston. So it'll be Richard Pitino getting another chance at high major college basketball. Previously didn't have a great run at Minnesota, but that's not a real good, real committed Big Ten basketball program. So Xavier a little more committed in the Big East. Basketball's their thing. They are a basketball school, and with some of those resources, we'll see if Richard Pitino's second run at high major college basketball is any better. Also, West Virginia has a new coach. West Virginia hires Ross Hodge, and if you're scratching your head and saying, who? You're not alone, unless you follow the American Athletic Conference real closely. Ross Hodge is the newest coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers. He is currently coaching North Texas. They're in the Final Four of the NIT. North Texas had a couple of good NIT runs in recent years. Had one under Grant McCasland, who parlayed that into the Texas Tech job. And now Ross Hodge has parlayed that into the West Virginia job. Brendan Dworzinski rejoins us, and we're happy to have Brendan back. Brendan, your thoughts on the we'll double back to the NFL headlines, but first, Ross Hodge to West Virginia. I'm fascinated by this because I don't think it's as good a hire as Darian DeVries was last year. And I guess I just don't know, what is West Virginia as a basketball program right now?
They're a feeder school. So, like that's where they are, and that's why I can understand the attempt here. I can understand the viewpoint with going with Hodge here if you think he is going to build for the future. If you think this is someone who is going to stick around for a while and can build something, even if he is not as good of a coach as Darian DeVries. And I mean, he might be. I'm not going to lie and say I know a whole lot about him. I know that he's the head coach of North Texas. I know he followed Grant McCasland. I couldn't tell you anything about after that. I mean, I know McCasland built something pretty good at North Texas. I don't know about Hodge after him. But if you've got a guy who is actually going to stay in Morgantown for a few years, okay, I can understand this. Build something. Get some program guys in there. Don't have to rebuild your entire roster through the portal for a third, a fourth, a fifth consecutive season. Okay, I can understand it right there. That school, that athletic department is good enough to contend for Big 12 titles, even in the NIL era. I do, honest to God, believe that. The problem is they're going to need a team to have proof of concept before, as far as I'm aware, their boosters, their money folks, their BMDs are going to be willing to pump some money into that. And, they've got some other university issues as well that might make things difficult in the revenue sharing era. So they've got some problems to figure out, but we've seen success at that program in high definition. We've seen it with, the current ESPN broadcast teams on the highlights on some of that, right? Like there are reasons to believe they can be successful again. I don't know if Hodge is the guy to get them there, but considering the Huggins disaster, and then Eilert was never going to actually have a chance at that job full time. DeVries, the rumor is his wife hated Morgantown. They showed up. She hated it immediately and couldn't wait to get out. That's just a rumor. I don't know if it's true. Clearly, DeVries was ready to go right away. They just need someone who can bring some consistency to that program, because without it, they're going to stay floundering around the bottom of the conference.
I want to then double back to our NFL headlines with you, Brendan. Stephon Diggs got $69 million, 3 years. Man, good for him, but it seemed like a bit steep at this stage of free agency for the Patriots to hand out to a receiver coming off a torn ACL.
Yeah, that, and I don't know this, obviously. I'm just reacting to it like you and everyone on the other side of these microphones is, but I have to imagine there's a lot of funny money there. Like, that feels like doing a solid, and I don't know who Stephon Diggs' agent or agency is. That feels like funny money to me, though, because there's no way. He's in his mid-30s. As far as we know, he didn't have any problems in Houston. And actually, if you go check out the ESPN folks, Nomina Kimes, Bill Barnwell, they've talked about this. He actually graded out in their advanced metrics for receivers, separation grade, hands grade, all of that, graded really, really well before the ACL tear. He's got a game that I think will age well. Reminds me a little bit of Devontae Adams. He's got that same kind of graceful game that's not built on speed. It's built on technique and hands. Keenan Allen was the same way until he got fat. Like, these games that are supposed to, it's true, that are supposed to age gracefully because they're not built entirely on being these incredible physical specimens. Like, for example, I think when Tyreek Hill goes, and he declined a little bit this year, I think Tyreek's going to drop off a cliff because as good as he is at a lot of different things, the speed is the basis, it's the catalyst for so much. When that goes, suddenly it doesn't matter if you can jump really high in the air if you can only run 6 yards. Like, that doesn't really do a whole lot for you. It's about the downfield stuff. Diggs, I think, can be successful. I'm actually really interested in seeing a technician working on the outside, working with Drake May. I know the Patriots have been kind of wiling out these last couple of years in free agency, especially at the end of Belichick and now into a new regime. But, man, I cannot imagine anyone giving a mid-30s wide receiver with a history of locker room issues $69 million in multiple years. That's why I can't believe an NFL team would do that. I have to believe this is funny money, or this is one of the worst contracts we've seen, even if he's good this year, because you just don't give that kind of money and that kind of guarantee to a guy who you can't trust will be there or at least be happy for 3 years.
Russell Wilson to the Giants. I think it's an upgrade for the Giants at quarterback. I don't think it gets them any closer to the playoffs, but it's certainly, I think, an upgrade from what they have had. Here's the big question, and this is my hunch, and I want to hear your thought on this. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going. I don't think he's going 1-1 to the Titans, and I don't think he's going 1-2 to the Browns either. I think it might be a long wait for Shedeur on draft day.
I would not be surprised. I told you a few weeks ago now, I think Shedeur Sanders is like Spencer Rattler as a prospect, but he's more famous. And look, I was higher on Spencer Rattler than a lot of people because I watched a lot of South Carolina and Oklahoma football. So I was higher on him than most. I would have taken him, third, early fourth round. He ended up going in the fifth, but doesn't move especially well, has a good but not great arm, maybe some, not character problems, but maybe some attitude problem. He's Spencer Rattler to me, which is fine. That's a fine developmental prospect. I would not be surprised at all if he ended up slipping. I don't think he'd go 1-2. The best case scenario for Sanders, honestly, to get drafted high is that somebody falls in love and trades for the number 2 pick. Because if you're Cleveland, and I know they've got their own problems, especially with ownership, but if I'm Cleveland and I have so much money tied up in dead weight, and now Myles Garrett is a Hall of Fame caliber player, but I have so much guaranteed money tied up in him, you know what I want? Draft picks, because I might have to field 16 of my 22 starters as rookies or second-year guys in the next couple of years. I'm trading back. I know we might pass up on Abdul Carter. We'll take a decent lineman midway through the first round. Give me some picks. Let's trade back. Let's get out of that number 2 spot if someone falls in love with Shedeur Sanders. I wouldn't if I was a GM or a scout, to be honest with you, but I think that's his best-case scenario if it's not the Giants. That room, 2 things on the Giants. One, you're 100% right. They're no closer to the playoffs, and that's not even a criticism of Russell Wilson. I mean, we know what he is at this point in his career. That team stinks, man. Yeah. Why not just fire Brian Daboll? Honestly, I'm not even anti-Daboll. Why not fire him? Because he's going to get fired after this year. Old Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Tommy DeVito. That's your quarterback room pre-draft. It's over. You're not winning with that. You're just dooming him to fail. So I don't know why you don't just fire him and let him walk in the first place and try to rebuild from there. The other thought here with the Giants is that they just, Russ could be better than he's been the last 3 seasons, and it probably won't matter because outside of Malik Neighbors, and maybe if you're a true NFC East sicko, you like Tyrone Tracy, but they don't have enough weapons offensively. They have one good offensive lineman, and he's hurt all the time, Andrew Thomas. Their defense is interesting, maybe. Like, they just have so many holes. Their coach is a dead man walking. I don't really get it from the Giants' perspective. I'd rather just tank it another year, honestly, because you're not, like, congrats, you're going to win 6 games instead of 4. Like, good for Russell Wilson, I guess. He'll certainly look better than what Daniel Jones looked like last year. I will agree with you 100% on that. I just don't really get what the Giants are trying to do.
A texter from the 785 points out that ESPN, one of ESPN's mock drafts, had the Steelers trading up to get Shedeur Sanders. The Steelers right now might have the worst quarterback situation of any team in the league. And if they wanted Aaron Rodgers, that would be done. Like, that would have been happened if that was something that they really wanted to do. So I don't know what the hell the Steelers are going to do, because they've got, I think, Skylar Thompson and Mason Rudolph under contract. I think those are their quarterbacks.
Yep.
Like, woof. I love Skylar. That's the worst quarterback room in the NFL right now. And, like, yeah, you could add a future Hall of Famer to that if you wanted to, but that means you got to add all the everything else and the fact that he's in his 40s and maybe not good anymore. And I think if they had wanted to do that, I think the ink would already be dry. So where the Steelers go from there, I think, is legitimately fascinating. And maybe Shedeur is the plan for them. We'll see. Let's take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, speaking of the NFL, Ben Solak ranked the offseason hauls for all 32 teams so far. Where do the Chiefs weigh in, and how would we rank the AFC West off seasons so far? That's next on 580 Sports Talk. 5:31 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Brendan hanging out with you on this Wednesday. So glad you're with us. Text line 785-272-9429. You can also get at us in the YouTube comments. Going to answer a couple of your baseball questions here in just a little bit. We'll wrap up with some thoughts on the Royals. But I did want to get to this. Ben Solak, ESPN.com, ranked the off seasons so far. The off-season process rankings is how he described it. Not just free agent acquisitions and departures, but trades, extensions, and restructures. The best offseason, per Ben Solak, belongs to the Buffalo Bills. What he liked best about their offseason was they kept a lot of their own guys and did so at contracts that did not set the market. And they were able to get good value for some of their players. So the Bills are at the top of the list. And all the way down at number 21 out of 32 teams were the Kansas City Chiefs. He writes that he loved the re-signing of Hollywood Brown, but didn't love the big swings. This is what Solak writes. The Chiefs signed 4 deals of $10 million or greater. In Fulton, they have a much better, Christian Fulton, they have a much better CB2 option on the outside for only $10 million a year. That's fine. Jalen Moore costs $15 million a year, which will look great if he hits as their franchise left tackle, but to sign a backup to become a starter move rarely works in free agency. Bolton also costs $15 million a year, and while he's a great culture player for this defense, I've watched too many offenses pick on him in coverage to feel great about that signing. And I imagine the market-setting extension for Trey Smith will eventually look just fine, but he's currently sitting on the franchise tag. Every move is defensible, but I didn't love a single one. So, again, just one guy's opinion here, but I do think it is interesting that the Chiefs did wind up adding or signing 4 contracts, guys who were eight-figure deals, essentially. Deals in the 8 figures, so significant money that you're handing out. And I don't know that other than Trey Smith, we don't know the parameters of what his extension is ultimately going to look like yet, but they didn't get a star. They didn't get an upgrade. Felt like they kind of paid the same to stay the same a little bit, which, again, when your baseline is what the Chiefs' baseline has been in terms of their performance, not the worst thing in the world, but I do think that's a fair criticism, that they went out and spent some fairly serious coin in free agency, at least as serious as they were capable of spending, but how much better did they get for the money is, I think, a valid question to ask.
I think it's valid. I think it's fair. The Chiefs were in a tough spot this year. It's kind of a tough spot for contenders in general. And I know this because I followed a lot of what Green Bay's offseason has looked like, and it's a very similar kind of thing, being as, I own the team. And it's a tough year because the free agency class sucked so badly. I mean, there just weren't many guys who hit the market who were going to be game-changing pieces. And so a lot of teams have ended up, well, we have money to spend. We need to spend it somewhere. The cap went up, so it might not ding us too badly. Let's keep our own guys. Let's spend to keep our own guys. So I don't know that I would say that I think the Chiefs had a top 10 offseason in terms of talent acquisition or retention or anything like that. But I do think 21st is a little bit steep. Go through some of the big deals. Hollywood Brown got an incentive-laden 1-year deal to be a tertiary option at receiver. Okay, great. Juju, same thing. He's even further down the list than Hollywood Brown is probably at this point in their careers. Okay, fine. Trey Smith, you knew he was going to make a lot of money. Again, it has to go somewhere. There is a floor for the salary cap in the NFL. You have to spend a certain amount. He was good last year. Are there things you can pick apart, nitpick with his game and pass protection? Sure. I do think part of that is influenced by Juwan Taylor being off his right shoulder, but nonetheless, he's good enough. You pay him. He's a better player than, say, Robert Hunt, who got that record-breaking contract a year ago. I can live with that. And some of the other guys, too, that are mentioned in here, like Nick Bolton. Yes, you've heard me talk about Nick Bolton for his entire career at this point. You know what I think of the guy. I mean, the contract he signed, average value of $15 million a year, that's tied for 5th among inside linebackers in the NFL, retaining a guy who's only 24, who we know that the Chiefs really like, who Steve Spagnuolo really likes. As Solak mentions in there, a culture guy. Only $30 million is guaranteed, so really it's just a 2-year deal for $15 million a year. that's fine, man. You've got, again, same point. You've got to spend it somewhere. The Jalen Moore deal, I don't know if this is going to work out, right? Like, I have no idea. I've said this before, what the Chiefs saw in him. In fact, Spencer and I went over this a bunch last week on the show while you were out, Dan, that I don't know what it is the Chiefs saw in Jalen Moore that made them want to ride with him and thought, yes, this is the guy. We're going to buy low on him. He's mostly been a backup spot starter, but he's got the specific skill set we're looking for that's going to make him a good starter for our team. I don't know what that is about his game that fits what the Chiefs are looking for, but I will tell you this, among left tackles only, not all tackles, left tackles only in the NFL, Jalen Moore is getting paid $15 million per year. That is the 16th biggest average annual salary of any left tackle in the NFL going into this year. Man, that's fine. I'm not going to get all worked up about the value of signing a guy who is 16th in contracts at his position as a flyer, essentially. It's 2 years. You're not committing to him for forever. It's not an anchor of a contract. He might not work out. He might be bad. And if that's the case, we can critique him for not being a very good player in that spot. But in terms of the value, I think Solak's being a little bit too hard here on this Chiefs team. Maybe not an elite offseason in terms of the kind of guys they brought in, but I don't think it's nearly as financially burdensome as he's making it out to be.
The other three AFC West teams all rank in his top 11. The Broncos, he believes, have had the 7th best offseason process. The Raiders 8th, the Chargers 11th. Which of those three teams do you think has had the best offseason, Brendan?
Man, I would probably go with, all right, where Broncos 7th, Raiders 8th. I have kind of liked what the Raiders have done. Honestly, I'm going to go with the Raiders based on just like where their baseline was to where I think it is now after free agency. Like, they added a starting quarterback. They added a legitimate locked in starting caliber above average quarterback, which Denver already had, but they didn't add anyone who is going to impact them to that degree. The Chargers already had a guy, I think the best of those three teams in Herbert, but they couldn't add a guy who can make an impact like that. They also, we can't forget they added Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll is going to bring a level of competency and competition to that franchise that they haven't had in way too long, or if they have had it, it has been very spotty when it showed up. So that's obviously huge. I like that they retained Malcolm Kuntz. They added Jeremy Chin from Spencer's Commanders. I really like that move. I like Chin a lot. He's a really unique player. He can't fit in every scheme, but I'm curious to see how Patrick Graham uses him because he's a really good defensive coordinator. They did lose some important players, Spillane, Hobbs, Merrick. Those were all mentioned in Ben Solak's piece. I think all those guys hurt that defense a little bit. They kept Max Crosby on a huge extension. I like what the Raiders have done. The problem is they just have so far to go to catch the top of the division. It might not make a huge difference in terms of the standings this year, but I think I can look at that, and I don't even have to really squint to say, yeah, I like what they've done. I like the process, even if they probably are going to top out at like in the hunt for the 7 seed until week 15.
I have to say I'm with Solak. I think the Broncos have had the best offseason of any of the AFC West teams so far. I love the additions of Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. I've been high on those guys their whole careers. Outstanding players, certainly big injury risks, but they're studs when they're on the field.
And that's the one concern for me. Yeah, just the like Hufanga, before he got hurt, he was literally an all-pro. Dre Greenlaw, good enough to be an all-pro before the Achilles. That's the only worry for me is just how good can they be off of those.
Yeah, and I think that the Broncos probably lost the least. Like the Raiders did lose a lot there on defense, and I think that the Broncos were able to address to strengthen a strength, which I think is something that should benefit them moving forward. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, some final thoughts on the Royals before opening day tomorrow, and we'll answer your baseball questions from the YouTube chat, the text line 785-272-9429 as we round third and head for home on this Wednesday on 580 Sports Talk. 543 on 580 Sports Talk. Our last show before the first Royals game of the season tomorrow afternoon at the K. 2:30 pregame, 3:05 first pitch. Royals and Guardians. We'll have it for you right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Start our question answering session with an easy one we can handle from the 785. Who's starting for the Royals tomorrow on the mound? It's Cole Reagans. The left-hander gets the ball on opening day. He will oppose Cleveland's Tanner Bybee. That's the pitching matchup tomorrow. Had to guess, provided that Pasquantino's good to go, lineup will look something like India in left, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, maybe Vinny DHs if the hammy's a little wonky, and then Sal will either catch or play first depending on Vinny's status. And then that could affect the rest of the order, because if Salvi's not catching, then Freddie Fermin's going to catch. So I was going to guess the lineup, and then I realized, man, there's a lot of twists and turns it could take based on Vinny's availability. But he's not on the IL, so I would think Vinny will go tomorrow. What position is, I guess, something that we'll all find out together tomorrow. Some other questions, baseball questions from the YouTube comments. I solicited them, and I will take them. A question from Vance, who asked, any new rules this year we should know about? No, the robot strike zone, the automated ball strike system, the challenges that were used in the spring, that was a springtime trial. They're going to use it in some levels, more levels of the minors this year, but that is not a new major league rule. Nothing significant or substantial this year that is going to throw you off. We're in year 3 of the pitch clock and the disengagement rules and all of that. And I'm pretty used to them by now. I was resistant, but I'm pretty used to them. And I actually have to admit that the pitch clock has been a net positive for the game of baseball. Here's a Royals question from Cody checking in. Welcome, Cody. Any opinion/correlation on the Royals' recent surge to being competitive again and push to build a new stadium downtown? I would not call it a coincidence, Cody. But at the same time, I think that while it certainly benefits the Royals to be in a competitive cycle while they are coming to Jackson County or anywhere else hat in hand and saying, hey, help us build a stadium, I do think there's more to this surge of competitiveness than just that. I think John Sherman is an owner that does care whether or not his team wins. And I think that when they made the commitment that they did to Bobby Witt Jr. before last offseason, that wasn't just committing to paying Bobby Witt Jr. a lot of money. That was a commitment to trying to build a winner around Bobby Witt Jr. That was a promise. They gave Bobby Witt Jr. all those years and all that money, and with it, I believe, a promise that as long as you are here, we are going to do whatever we can to win while you're here. And so I think that is why you saw the Royals spend the way they did last year, why they were aggressive at the trade deadline, at the waiver deadline last year, why they made the Jonathan India trade, why I think they'll be aggressive at another trade deadline this year. I do think that there is more to it than just, well, if we're good, people will build us a stadium. I don't think that's not part of it, but I don't think that's all of it. I honestly would have to say that the bigger factors are John Sherman wants to field a competitive team, and they owe it to Bobby Witt Jr., and they know that they do. From a team that I think has good ownership to one that I think does not. JB asks, Dan, do the Rockies have the worst ownership in baseball? I actually pull for them a little. Love Coors Field, but it feels hopeless in that division and playing at altitude. JB, this is a question. If you find me out and about ever, buy me a beer, and I'll give you about a half-hour answer to this question with a lot of words that aren't suitable for radio. But the short, radio-friendly version of the answer to this question is no, the Rockies don't have the worst ownership in baseball. They're not cheap. They're just stupid. They're stupid and they're incurious, which is even worse than being stupid. They have the worst analytics department in baseball. Their general manager is not good at his job. Their head of scouting is the owner's kid. Wish I were making that up. They have incompetent people in charge from top to bottom, non-baseball people in charge from top to bottom. And they don't see anything wrong with that because they think they'll figure it out eventually, and they keep being wrong. They're going to be losers again this year. It'll be the 7th straight losing season for the Rockies. That'll be a new franchise record, and it won't change anything. So, yeah, that's your Rockies corner with Dan. Seriously, buy me a beer and ask me that question. You'll get a much more colorful answer. Another one from Vance. What's more exciting in your opinion, the no-hitter, the perfect game, hitting for a cycle, or a walk-off grand slam? Walk-off grand slam happens very suddenly. So there's the excitement of that, right? There's not the slow build of a no-hitter or a perfect game where you look up and, wait a minute. They have a base runner through 5 innings. Interesting. Hey, wait a minute. Now it's 6. Now it's 7. And no one has reached base. There's that build of anticipation and hope that you're going to get to see something special. So those are more exciting to me. That and, I'm a pitcher at heart still. So there is that. I've never seen a no-hitter or a perfect game. I have seen 2 cycles in person. One in the minor leagues, one in the major leagues. Chew Freeman. That was his name, Chew, C-H-O-O. Chew Freeman of the Colorado Springs Sky Sox did it in a game I was at in, I want to say 2005 or 2006. I don't quite remember. Fred Lewis of the Giants did it at Coors Field in 2006. So I still remember those. Those are pretty cool, but I'm a pitcher, so it'll always be the pitching feats that are more fascinating to me. Opening day tomorrow. People are fired up in the YouTube comments. People are fired up on the text line for the 913. It's not a playoff game, but it's every bit as good. It's like the Daytona 500. Go Royals from the 913. It's exciting to be excited. Even going into last year, we knew the Royals were improved, but there was still that, we got to see it to believe it. A little skepticism, well-earned skepticism based on how the Royals had performed the previous couple of years. But this year, unreserved excitement. This is a playoff team, returns largely intact. The vibes are great. It's a really likable group of players. It's a young group of players. And the Central is wide open. There's not a Leviathan in this division that the Royals just don't stack up to. There's not a team that's going to outspend the Royals or out-talent the Royals. If the Royals play good baseball from tomorrow through September, they'll earn it. They'll win the Central. I believe they will. I don't believe it with my whole heart. I wish I did. There's part of me that does have doubts. I do worry about how much injury or attrition the pitching staff can withstand, even though I think they're in better shape to withstand it than they were last year when it turned out they didn't have to. I do worry about the bottom of the order, especially if MJ Melendez doesn't take a step forward and if Michael Massey struggles and doesn't consolidate on some of his growth from last year. But, man, Bobby Witt Jr. is a Kansas City Royal, and Cole Reagans is a Kansas City Royal, and Seth Lugo is a Kansas City Royal, and Salvador Perez is a Kansas City Royal, and Jonathan India is a real live leadoff hitter wearing a Royals uniform, and Lucas Erceg is the Kansas City Royal in the late innings. This is a good baseball team. That I will say without any hesitation. That I do believe with my whole heart. And you know what? The hell with it. I picked them to win the Central. I think 85 wins will do it. I don't think it will take much because I don't think there's a truly great team in the division. But I think the Royals are a good one. I think they're good enough to go win the Central. And the journey starts tomorrow with Cole Reagans on the mound at the K. Can't wait. We'll take a break, come back, final word next here on 580 Sports Talk. But first, a quick word for my friends at Great Life here in Topeka. Great Life has 5 outstanding golf courses that are raring to go for the spring, and I'm so fired up to get out and start playing. Now that basketball season is over, I've got a little bit more free time, as much free time as a parent of a 9-month-old can possibly have. But I can't wait to get out on the links, and I know those golf courses, the Great Life golf courses, they're so well kept. They're so much fun to play for golfers of all ages and skill levels. And being a member comes with great perks. So go to greatlifetopeka.com. Find out how great it is to be a Great Life golf member. Final word next on the program. Wrapping up and walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk with a final word. It'll be twofold today. Number one, congratulations once again to the Washburn Ichabods for reaching the Final Four. I got to see them and call one of their games back in November. It was one of their first games of the season. They were playing the defending national champions from Minnesota State Mankato out at Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City, and they ran them off the floor. They won that game by 20, and they didn't break a sweat in the process of it. And I talked to Brett Ballard after the game, and you know, when you talk to a coach, and they know if they've got a good team. And Brett Ballard knew then he had a good team. I don't know if he knew he had a Final Four good team, but it certainly felt that way that day. And here they are in the Final Four. They get the crack at Nova Southeastern tomorrow night, 8:30 tip-off, 8:15 pregame on our sister station, Country 106.9, with Brendan Dworzinski on the call from Evansville in the Ford Center. Excited for Washburn to have this opportunity. It's an incredible season, and I hope it keeps going for 2 more games. Secondly, baseball's here. I call it the only sport that matters, and it's half in jest, but it is my favorite sport, and I am so excited for the season to begin. I am so excited to see Royals baseball. I will be there at the K tomorrow. Bring you some eyewitness stuff from Kauffman Stadium. I will be credentialed in the press box. Can't wait to walk into that ballpark because the last time I walked out of it was the end of last season. Excited to see the opener for these Kansas City Royals. And again, I'm putting my name on it. They're going to do it. They're going to win the American League Central this year. 2:30 pregame, 3:05 first pitch tomorrow here on 580 WIBW. That means no sports talk. We're back on Friday from 3 until 5:30. Until then, for Brendan and Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.